Turning now to politics, voters are heading to the polls today to decide a series of races that could hold clues of what's to come in the 2022 midterms. And in a blow to President Biden's domestic agenda while he's overseas, Democratic Senator Joe Manchin says he will not commit to supporting a $1.75 trillion framework on social spending and climate change, not until he sees the economic impact. Joining us now with the very latest is Caroline Heldman, professor of critical theory and social justice at Occidental College. Big Tuesday morning. Thank you for joining us today.
Great to see you, Giselle.
So let's start with the big elections across the country, many with new voting laws in place. Let's start with the Virginia governor's race because it's a big deal. Why does it matter, and where do we stand in a neck-and-neck race?
Well, this is an off election year race that is always the bellwether for how the national party in power is doing. In this particular case, you see Terry McAuliffe, who's the previous governor of Virginia. They have a one-term limit, so he's running again, running against financier Glenn Youngkin. And this should not be a close race. Biden won the state by 10 points. Republicans haven't won statewide office in Virginia in over a decade, but here we are. So what has brought us to this point? Glenn Youngkin is trying out the critical race theory approach, where he is standing firm against teaching it in K through 12. It's important to note critical race theory is actually not taught in K through 12, but that's really the core of his message. And Terry McAuliffe is trying to align him with Trump. So essentially, both of these parties are trying to determine what will work with voters, and that is what we will see. Whatever works in this election, that's what we're going to see in the midterm elections coming up next year.
Is it also a bellwether for 2024 and the presidential race?
Absolutely. And it doesn't help that the infrastructure and budget packages were not passed. Terry McAuliffe was relying on that. And so this puts him in a very bad position. So it's a snowball effect where not passing these major pieces of legislation at the national level makes it less likely that Terry McAuliffe will win, neck and neck right now. Important to note that. But if he doesn't win, it actually makes it more difficult to pass these packages. So Democrats are in a tight spot as Biden's poll numbers are plummeting because of his handling of Afghanistan, because inflation is on the rise. And also, folks are not impressed with his inability to pass this major agenda.
Well, holding up that agenda is Joe Manchin. He called on the House to quickly pass the bipartisan infrastructure bill, even as he's refusing to endorse the president's framework on social spending. How big a blow, first of all, not just to Virginia and the governor's race, but to President Biden overseas touting his big climate agenda when he can't get it done here at home?
Absolutely, Giselle. I mean, this is his legacy, and the inability to pass these bills will certainly harm him in 2024 if he chooses to run again, and the Democrats in the 2022 midterm elections. What's at stake here is Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema, but at this particular time, really Joe Manchin saying, look, we passed the infrastructure bill in the Senate. You've got to pass this budget bill in the House, right? And then you see, or he wants to only pass that and not pass the bill in the House. And then you see progressives in the House pushing back and saying, no, we need to do both. So it's a standoff between conservative or more moderate Democrats in the Senate versus progressive Democrats in the House. The question is where this all ends. And it does appear that Joe Manchin is really in the driver's seat here.
Well, how badly does this hurt the president overseas touting that climate agenda, Caroline?
Well, it makes him look ineffective. As you recall, Giselle, last week we were talking about the fact that he met with members of his own party in the bowels of Congress to really encourage them to pass this. He hopped on a plane. Nancy Pelosi was saying, hey, maybe we'll get it passed by the time he lands in Rome for the G20 summit. Didn't happen. So this is internationally a bit of egg on Joe Biden's face.
Yeah, and very quickly here, big challenges to the Texas abortion law at the Supreme Court. Kavanaugh and Amy Coney Barrett coming out and basically saying, whoa, 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 this could affect gun rights and other constitutional rights. Does that give us a window to see that Roe versus Wade may still stand a chance?
Well, this is really a procedural question. They are looking at it, as you noted, the mechanism for enforcing it is that you empower citizens to enforce these violations of constitutional rights against other citizens. Let's be clear here, abortion is a fundamental right in the Constitution. And Justice Sotomayor is saying, wait a minute, this could also be used for gun rights and other major pieces of legislation. So I wouldn't be surprised if conservatives and liberals on the court came together on saying, hey, this is a bad mechanism for violating the Constitution.
Do you agree with most reproductive rights advocates that Roe versus Wade is gone?
It's certainly gone in the state of Texas, and if the court upholds this law in Texas, we will see copycat laws in at least half the states in the union.
Caroline Heldman, we have you on a Tuesday because it's a big day politically across the nation, so thank you so much for lending us your voice and insight and perspective. We'll see you again this week, I'm sure.